I'd like to welcome everyone here to what is essentially the first podcast episode for my YouTube channel around Ultima Online and specifically the New Legacy Seasonal Shard. Tonight, we're joined by several great friends and guild members, community members here. I'm just going to give an opportunity for everyone to just very quickly introduce yourselves before we get underway with the discussion here. Myself, I'm DM Wyvern. Dungeon Master Wyvern. I am the host of this YouTube channel and also the guild leader of the Wyvern's Lair on New Legacy. That's my background, and I'm going to toss it over to Lithy here.
Hey, I'm Lithy. I've been playing UO since I was a little kid, and it's just been really important for me. Just a decent escape and things like that, and that's a little bit of my history with UO. Just to keep it brief, and I'm passing it to Ivy there.
Oh, Poison Ivy, been playing since day one, off and on. Love the game, trying my best to help everybody else keep it alive, making new friends, learning about this world in game and other people's worlds in real life. And Rex, I guess, is next.
Hello. This is RexRumble, a.k.a. Punkenstein, a.k.a. Rex Shieldpants, a.k.a. Rex Pius, a.k.a. Johnny Crossbow. I have been playing Ultima since I met my wife, Ivy. 20 years, which is also a note that there's an upcoming anniversary this summer. And what I'm looking forward to most is that you quick strike that like button, like, subscribe, and leave comments. It helps the algorithm.
Thank you, Rex. And congrats on the upcoming anniversary. That's exciting.
Whoever's next.
I'm Ron. I got nothing. I'm here to party, have a good time.
Cheers. I'll fill in a couple of notes here for Ron. Playing the game since 14 years old. Infamous PvPer, great community member. Thank you for being here, Ron. Trinidaddy.
Hello, Trinidaddy, guild leader of Cool over on New Legacy, council member on Atlantic for Cool. I've been playing since early 2009. I've never heard of this game, but I've been playing ever since.
Very cool. And can you tell us a little bit about Cool, your guild, and what you guys do here in New Legacy?
Our guild is designed to help new and returning players get back into the game, get them set up, learn a thing or two, teach them the new ways over the old ways, and just make it more enjoyable for them to get back in. And in the long run, it'll hopefully keep the game alive for all of us to keep playing.
Rock on. I love the acronym. Cool stands for Kindred Order of Loyalty, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Nice. Thank you for being here, Trinidaddy.
Not need to be confused with the cigarettes.
Next up is Zeke.
Yep, I'm Zeke. Also Jack. Depends on which character I'm on at the time. Jack is my pirate character. He is a character. I've been playing just over 20 years. I started and continue to play on Legends and have 3 accounts currently running. And it's thanks to New Legacy that I opened the 3rd one because I had closed it for quite a while. But I really am enjoying the New Legacy paths that you have here. And that's it.
Thank you, Zeke. Thank you, Zeke. So, just to bring us back to, the centerpiece of the discussion, all of us have been playing the New Legacy Seasonal Shard from Broadsword Online Gaming. This is a very new way to experience retail Ultima Online. Is centered around what the developers refer to as a classic Ultima experience. And it is quest-based progression for those players who want to pursue the narrative paths. Alongside the narrative path experience, you have what they call the diversion path, which is closer to how players progress in Ultima Online way back in the day. Published one came out December 9, 2024. At least that's where the published notes are for Pub 1. And that's something that that number is unique. We're well over into the hundreds, the low hundreds when it comes to publishes for official UO. So it's kind of exciting to sort of be here at a very early moment for what's probably going to become a big part of Ultima Online retail moving forward here with the Seasonal Shard. We're going to take a look at the quality of life changes first. I'm just going to go ahead and read them out for us so we're oriented as to what we're talking about. Frostpaw and Thunderhoof will respawn more frequently and consistently. Frostpaw has moved to a different, less spidery cave on the island. Reduced the cooldown between using the item ID skill significantly. World bosses now have dynamic scaling applied, which will prevent them from dying too quickly with a large number of players. Reduce the mana cost of Bard songs for high mana users to be more in line with low mana users. Bard songs will now display the required skill in the Book of Songs. Reduce the difficulty of Crypt Defend objectives. Reduce the difficulty of the Orc Tower objective. And larger boss mobs have had their hitboxes increased to allow for an easier time hitting in melee range. Lower threshold for acquiring looting rights on mobs to make them easier to acquire. So those are the quality of life changes. And we're just going to go right around the room here and get our quick sort of thoughts and reactions and feedback on this, starting with Lithy.
I will say, published one, I agree with you. It's unique, and there are some big things. Big things come in small packages, so it's just a small publish, and there are a lot of great things that are just little things that make the game great. I would say that just about everything listed here is a quality of life change, and these quality of life changes are just general things that you would see, in any quality of life changed in any other game. As far as, the first set of bullets that we have on the list, I think the really important ones here are, the lower threshold for acquiring looting rights. I mean, that's one that kind of keeps players around. If a player isn't getting any drops or anything, I've seen players leave the game and things. So that's one of the big ones here. And then the Bard songs will display the required skill in the Book of Songs. That's just one. I'm a Bard, and I know it was having issues with that earlier. So lots of good stuff.
Rock and roll. Thanks, Lithy. Ivy.
For me, the best one out of all these quality of life changes was the world boss scaling, because they were falling way too fast when we had such a huge amount of people on. Now that it's not as many people on, you can see it applied better. I'm not sure how much it does scale, because even still, if you get 12, 15 people and then they still fall kind of fast, and they wouldn't want to relook at it, maybe inch it up a little bit. But I agree with Lithy on this. Overall, I can't really think of too much more for first time around to improve anything else outside of maybe housing. I would definitely like them to relook at that based on what we've seen from the population.
Gotcha. I don't mean to to jump ahead in the queue here, but I do have a quick funny story about world boss scaling. So I was playing late last night when everyone was fast asleep for the most part, and I found myself in the Titan Weave layer and got locked in there for a little while. And I spent a good 5 minutes running around trying to dodge Titan Weave and call some help out for myself. But when the rescue team finally arrived, I did notice that the three of us were actually able to get through Titan Weave, in a pretty decent amount of time. So it goes to show how responsive the dynamic scaling is with these world bosses, legendary foes, which, as Ivy pointed out here, was a welcome change for the published one. Right.
Very nice.
Well, I'm actually quite interested about this Bard change of life update because I've been running this Bard mage and I really haven't known what I was doing other than Manticore Fight Club. I do know I would often run out of mana, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays. That's my biggest interest right now.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about that. So I'm reading this, and I'm a new player here. I haven't touched bards as a play style. What's the significance of this change, Rex?
I don't know yet because I haven't tried it. I was on the fighter build since the update, so I haven't really tried it yet. It remains to be seen.
Gotcha. Zeke has something to say?
On me.
No, it's just that I have tried it. I mean, I've been playing my Bard, and this has helped quite a bit, especially since it's a Ranger Bard, so not a very big mana pool. And so by lowering the cost of the spells when you cast them, and you get your mana back faster, it's been a big help. I mean, when I first started this Bard before the pub, I would be out of mana after just 2 spells and would have to sit there and wait, so I wasn't doing the amount of damage I could have been doing. Because there's some of the Bard spells are do damage, especially the Discord ones. And so it was it so far it's made a big difference as far as my play style with my Bard. I haven't really done a mage one where I had a large mana pool, so I can't tell the difference there. But for a small mana pool, which is kind of mentioned in it about low mana users, it's definitely a lot. It's been a great help. So it's been a really good quality of life change.
Awesome. Thank you for that additional perspective there, Zeke. Ron Fellows.
Let's see. The world bosses with the dynamic scaling, I think, is pretty good idea for the current rule set here. Just because, you don't always have the large group. And I know that you said, like you mentioned, we went and did that with just a few of us a week or so ago, and it went pretty well. I was like, no, we can't do it because I didn't realize that the new dynamic thing had been applied. So I think that's good. But just to touch on the Bard thing, as far as the mana pool, I don't have a Bard, but I am a mage, and I'm just a pure mage, so I don't have any special tricks. But I do feel like I'm constantly stopping and meting, and in those boss fights, I'm just healing, So, I would like to. I think a better solution might have been possibly giving mana regen. I know they want to limit the attributes that they're giving us, but I don't know. It's not too fun as a mage right now.
Lithy, you play a pure mage. Is your experience similar to Ron's here?
What did Ron? What was that there as far as mana?
Basically, you're when it comes to the boss fights or any of the monsters with a lot of hit points, you're basically reduced to a healer that has to stop and meditate every once in a while because you don't have mana to do anything.
You're right. There are a couple little tricks there as far as getting your LMC as high as you can get it. Your mana as high as you can get it, and just kind of getting creative with your spell combos there. But you are right that is kind of my experience with that.
Gotcha. Thanks, Lithy. Anything else for quality of life changes for you, Ron?
No, I think their list is like I said, I think it's decent for the current rule set that they have. I think they made good changes.
Thank you, Ron. Over to Trinidaddy from Cool.
I think those are all pretty, they cover a pretty good variety of things, but I don't know, I have an issue with the reduced cooldown between using the item IDs significantly. Why do I have to keep IDing everything? That bothers me. I don't get it. Like I did it once and then I relog, or sometime later I move it and put it back on, and it's like, oh, what does this thing do again? I don't know. I have to ID it again.
I agree.
It drives me nuts.
Yeah, I think they should have just removed it. Especially since they give you 100 hidden, and it just doesn't make sense why it's there.
I mean, I understand why having it there. It's kind of a cool little feature that, it's kind of lost on production shards, but having to reuse it every time, like, that's kind of annoying. But
I think they were going for nostalgia, but they kind of missed the boat on that one.
It's kind of how I feel about that.
Also, the reduced difficulty of the Crypt defend objective. I'm not sure if that's just the initial one that you have to do before you get out of Oklo. But they need to also add it to the other ones for the town objectives, because I had to delete one of my characters and restart, and some of those are pretty difficult to do by myself, even after like 70, 80 skills, and wearing the suit and other stuff that I've given my new character that he shouldn't have yet still has trouble with those. There's still some issues that they need to fix, but it's a good start.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing those pain points, Trinidaddy. Couple of things from my end before I actually share my perspective here. Pockted from Never Lucky did send through their thoughts to me in a document, so I'll just go ahead and represent Pockted here for quality of life changes. Really appreciate the faster respawn for early rare pets, Frostpaw and Thunderhoof. Let's see, hold on 1 second. Let me just there we go. I need to whack this into a word processor. Discord is not doing it for me. Go. Okay, that works a lot better. All right. Appreciated the cooldown reduction for item ID, and hoping it gets updated for many other skills. I'm looking at you, meditation, says Pockted. World boss dynamic scaling. He kind of hates the change, but mostly because he liked killing the bosses faster and never had a problem missing out on looting rights. But Pockted is one of those overachieving players, so I'm going to take that feedback with a grain of salt. Really liked the Bard song balancing. This is great for mana users, Pockted felt. He's actually cast some Bard songs since this change on his characters that have them. The defend objective quests on the narrative lines, which you were just talking about, Trinidaddy, really like the changes there. He said he ran a few characters through the narrative since the update, and it's much smoother now. He thinks some of the others can use some adjustment still, so this kind of goes back to your own thoughts on this. He says that barricades still have too much hit points, and the job board quests to defend the caravans, the mobs that spawn to attack them, are still a little too strong or too much hit points for someone with 60 skills to kill quickly enough and not fail the quest. Actually, is a really good point, and kind of dovetails with your concerns there with how the defend objective quests are currently tuned on New Legacy. And that covers Pocketed thoughts there for quality of life changes. For myself, I do appreciate that they do have dynamic scaling for world bosses, as Ivy pointed out. When you get a whole lot of players in there, I guess they could have been burned down real quick and would have prevented, slow players like myself, who usually don't have a horse for reasons, to make it in time to actually get credit for that given world boss. So slowing that down, or at least providing scalability, that's a cool change there for myself. The other big change that I really liked was actually providing a larger hitbox for the bigger monsters in the game, because I remember when the Shard first released, I was having a heck of a time on my my melee main hitting some of these large world bosses. that doesn't seem to be an issue anymore. So I'm thankful for that welcome change. And lowering the threshold for acquiring looting rights on world bosses. That's also a great welcome change. I've skidded in towards the end of a world boss encounter, pretty certain that I was going to miss out on looting rights, and miraculously, I'd still get them. So they've generously lowered the threshold there. Kind of agree with you on item ID, Trinidaddy. I always found it a little confusing to have to redo the skill over and over again with an item that I've previously ID'd. So that would be a nice quality of life feature if they were to allow players to be able to inspect an item and get the stats off it once they've used that skill. All right, that covers.
I want to be able to do it on other people as well.
Yeah, hear that. Okay, we're going to move on to miscellaneous bug fixes, which might go very fast because these are... Actually, we're going to go ahead and skip the bug fixes. I don't think that's substantial enough for us to talk about. Those are bug fixes, and we're glad to have them. Bugs are bad. Let's see. Miscellaneous world bosses are now categorized as legendary foes for the purpose of objectives. I don't think there's much to talk about there. The world bosses / legendary foes currently are Therian, Valara, the Thought Shaper, Titanweave Spider, Soul and Matriarch, Crimson Dragon, Eureka, and Torst, the Manticores.
The major change or thing there is the purpose of objectives.
Sure.
Now you get to feed into the guild building by killing them on a daily basis.
Yeah. And
So that was the big one. That's 25 points each one. So that's 7 of them because I guess you only get 1 for the Manticores. You get 2 foe points, but you only get 1 objective. So I mean that's 150 points.
That's a really good point. I'm going to open this up for everyone to jump in, so we're not going to pass around the mic. But I actually didn't realize, and this goes to show what a noob of a guild leader I am, Zeke, but I actually didn't realize that world bosses were not part of the objective system till Publish 1, Zeke. That blows my mind.
Yep.
I like this one because you get the foe point for the boss. So that's cool.
I will throw in that this is such a welcome change for 2 reasons. One, world bosses / legendary foes are one of the main sort of like content features of New Legacy. You get the very best or most coveted drops off these world bosses currently, so it's what players sort of gravitate towards in terms of activity on the shard. So this is something you naturally pursue on your own as an individual player. So for them to provide that individual player benefit and also provide a benefit to the guild that you are part of and hoping to progress, that's a great change on the part of Broadsword. Any other thoughts here from the gang? I'll take the silence. Zeke has hit basically the most important points here. Thank you for catching that, Zeke, and bringing it to our attention. This is also a good one. New weekly guild objectives have been added to help you grow your guild's prestige. And you have the following: slay creatures within the various dungeons: Deceit, Destar, Despise, and Hyloth. Ice Dungeon, Orc Dungeon. Along, of course, with the legendary foes which we just spoke about, including Garthok the Champion. What do you guys think of the slay guild objectives? Any thoughts there?
I thought this was a cool thing. If I'm not mistaken, this is what has placed like a guard outside of a dungeon, and then you have the quest for that. So I thought that was cool because it it gives players kind of it's not just like it's stuck in the menu somewhere. It gives players like a physical place in the game where they can go and accept that quest. It's kind of little, but I think that for new players, it's kind of a cool thing. Thanks. Zeke has some things to say about that as far as contributing to your guild stuff, and so that I do feel about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you make a great point here. And in fact, all those slay objectives also apparently count towards house upkeep too, which is a nice feature, and it's actually laid out there in the published notes. I'm going to quickly just go around the table on this. Ivy, any thoughts here?
Well, it's kind of going to go into also what we're going to be talking about with just the world monsters in general, because now they have that chance of dropping the same loot as the bosses do. I have found myself farming the mummies, for example, to get things, because I've gotten armor pieces. I got the lure that one time, and I know it says based on how high it is, better the chance. It doesn't mean that if you kill, say, the Slayer 1,000 times, you necessarily get anything, but you could kill wombats, still get a lure. So it's just that the higher the monster, the better chance you get, but it doesn't mean the higher thing will drop, like armor versus a lure or something. Does that make sense? Because a lot of people were like, oh no, you gotta go kill dragons if you want to get a lure or something. No, you can kill wombats. It might take 10,000 of them, but you still could get the same thing off of that you can get off of a mummy or a dragon.
That's a really good point. Ivy, just so you know, your audio seems to be coming back and forth while you're talking, which is, it's fine, but it does sound like you kind of fade in and out while sharing with us. I did capture most of what you had to share, and I agree with it. And I haven't forgotten you saying that moving forward, when you realize that this is in fact part of Publish One, that you're going to take out like a magnifying glass and tweezers to go through corpse containers to find these artifacts that might be there in the wombats. Gotcha. Thank you, Ivy. Rex, any thoughts here?
Not really, no.
Fair enough. Ron?
I like it. I like that they made it easier for guild objectives because the upkeep is a lot. But I feel like it's still too much for a player house. But I mean, that's kind of off topic for this section.
Fair enough. Trinidaddy?
I'm liking it. We're already halfway to level 4. It's just a lot more content, a lot more initiative to go out and do something. Doing the same old 3 or 4 job board missions over and over again to keep your house got kind of boring. Now I don't have to really worry too much about those. I can just go out and kill stuff, and do stuff, loot gold.
Thank you, Trinidaddy. Zeke?
Yeah, this was a good ad. Basically, it's the slay 75 and creatures in each of the dungeons, and that combined with the next topic, which is the repeatable objectives, makes it really handy for doing your own house as well as the guild house, and as well as progressing the level of the guild. So this was definitely a nice change.
Yeah, and as a new player who is just starting to explore the slay objectives, the dungeon slay objectives, I do, as Trinidaddy pointed out, I do like the fact that I can feel rewarded for passing up on or just ignoring legendary foes for a while, and it's and still get benefits for myself in terms of my own upkeep for my player home, or contributing towards the loyalty, town loyalty for our guild house, and then as Poison Ivy pointed out, there is that chance to in fact get an artifact or a valuable item off any of the mobs that you're taking on in these dungeons. So that's a good change, and I think it goes to what I think that a lot of players feel about New Legacy in general, is that I don't know if it might be possible for this season. I think kind of this season is here, and we have to mostly enjoy it for what it is. But I think that there's a strong desire for other ways to spend your time as far as engaging with content in New Legacy. And the 3 spokes currently are slay objectives in the dungeons, slay objectives for legendary foes, and then the town board objectives. And just in terms of the the number of options within these three major spokes, there's just this sense that I wish there was more out there for us in the way of, let's say, legendary foes. So it remains fresh and doesn't start to feel stale for people who are spending a lot of time on New Legacy. All right, we're going to move on to repeatable objectives. It reads as such: new repeatable objectives have been added to offer adventurers more opportunities to earn some coin and increase their town loyalty rating. The Wardens of the Realms have been entrusted with preventing the Scourge within various dungeons from escaping. Sentinels have been deployed near dungeons that will offer adventurers objectives related to these dungeons. All repeatable objectives will count towards your house upkeep. And we just went through the Slay quest just earlier, so I'm not going to go ahead and repeat them. But they're all the great dungeons that currently make up the New Legacy Seasonal Shard experience. Lithy.
I like this. I like this because it's a patch update, but they also present it as a story. The Wardens of the Realm have been entrusted. I don't say, oh, well, there's a person sitting outside. We have this little story behind it. It's something that adds to the UO world, and little systems like these are what's going to give players, like you said, more to do and just stuff like that. I love to see stuff like that, and I would like to see more stuff like this in the next patches. Perhaps even a story change. Maybe we get a wizard standing outside of the dungeon instead of a warden, and have to deliver the wizard items from within the dungeon. Who knows? But I love seeing stuff like that. Great stuff.
Yeah, you actually make a really good point about how they kind of flavored the update with sort of a bit of a lore background and put in some story there. That's a great call out, Lithy. Anyone else want to say this?
I got something.
Go for it, Ron.
So, I mean, going back to kind of what you just said, Wyvern, about it gets repetitive for people that are doing it all the time, and I completely agree. I feel like maybe this is the best part to interject my opinion on this, but the world's very empty. There's lots of dungeons that are completely empty. The T2A is completely empty. Put a slay creatures in T2A and populate T2A. Add some dungeons, do some different stuff. It just feels stale after a while. Like, I don't want to grind Despise, Deceit, Discard over and over and over,
Yeah, and actually that's really interesting. I as a new player, just having contact with the game, it wasn't until very recently that I realized that T2A is fairly empty aside from the Manticore legendary foe encounter. There isn't that much there, and it feels like a very underutilized part of the world map, as you pointed out.
Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Fair enough. Anyone else want to, add on to what Ron shared here, or do you have your own thoughts?
I would love to see we just had the Manifestation of Evil world boss encounter on production shards. What a cool thing that would be to put in T2A until they populate it. Like, that would be a cool system. I'm sure that wouldn't be too hard.
What is that system? I'm not familiar with it.
A random world boss would pop up just a standard world boss would appear in a random area, and you would get the coordinates and everybody would go to it, and you would have mobs pop up. It was kind of like a champ system, but it would pop up in a random place. It was very neat.
Well, I can elaborate on that a little bit more. It's basically when people are doing treasure maps, which exists here. After so many are done, say the highest level treasure map they've done, or the entire shard has done 15 or 20, then the world boss will pop, and it'll pop at that place where that last treasure map was dug up, and the town crier will tell you the coordinates so you can run there.
That is really cool. As Lithy pointed out, I hope we see something like that or a variant of it when New Legacy gets its first event a little later this spring. All right, I'm going to assume that we can move on from repeatable objectives. Let me just go ahead and make sure that I'm not missing anything from Pocketed here. Let's see what he wrote. Pocketed says, another great addition. Would like to see something like this added with crafters in mind. Maybe a harvest, given amount of resources, repeatable quests to aid in house upkeep.
I like that.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. It does seem like crafters and the crafting system has been very much an underbaked afterthought for New Legacy. And I'm very frustrated as a guild leader that crafters, people who just want to play crafters, cannot contribute to guild progression or even upkeep their own player homes for that matter too.
No, they can update their.
They can through bots or
for the job board. Yeah, the bod one and
gotcha.
The bod one and the other one where you dig up crap.
Oh, we want bod books also.
We have bod books.
We do?
Yeah.
Oh.
Scribes make them.
Somebody give me. Oh, I'm a scribe. I'll make one.
There you go. It's on the other menu. Other item or whatever.
You make a great call out, Zeke. So yes, of course, if you are a crafted character, you can in fact upkeep your home through the salvage town board objective and the bod objective. But
but it doesn't contribute to the guild one.
Correct. And as Pocketed is pointing out here, would be great if we could have something like that for crafters too. So they didn't feel like as much of a drag on valuable player slots in guilds as you're ranking up. All right. Moving on to world drops. We already kind of touched upon this with Poison Ivy, but we're going to go ahead and just sort of unpack it once more for everyone for the sake of completeness here. World loot drops. All mobs within dungeons now have a chance to drop random artifacts. These artifacts can drop from any mob within a dungeon. The stronger the mob, the better the chance. These artifacts will drop directly to the corpse of the mob. These artifacts include armor sets, bard songs, taming knowledge, and, most especially for, what everyone chases in New Legacy, peddlers, which is amazing. So you can get potentially a gold bar off a Mongbet, as Poison Ivy's pointed out.
Especially if your name is Ivy.
Yeah. Anything to throw in here? Would you want to see the artifacts, the potential artifacts expanded for world loot drops, or is this list pretty good?
I think the list is good. The only thing that I don't like the fact that it drops on the body as opposed to dropping in your backpack, because if you're doing like a spawn and
that would be too easy for ARs,
you can't even loot anything. I mean, so there's chances are all the good stuff that I would have gotten are lying in corpses during a champ spawn, because I've gotten like one or two things and that's about it, and I kill a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, I hear you, Zeke. My first thought when you said that was I fully agreed. It would be a nice quality life feature if an artifact were to pop off, a particular mob for that to be placed directly in your backpack. But then Trinidaddy brought up a counterpoint, which I think is important to consider. Do you want to chase that line of thought for us, Trinidaddy?
I'll admit I've left my character half-ass AK with my pet just wandering around killing stuff, and come back to artifacts in my backpack, and it's just too easy.
You talk about on production?
Yeah. It's kind of harder here because pets aren't quite as tough, and but yeah, it's just too easy to just sit there and collect stuff.
Yeah, it'd be easy to farm. You're right. That's true.
And I think that along the lines of what Trinidaddy is pointing out here, this sort of addresses some of the issues that Broadsword has increasingly encountered with bots that players are encountering in the game that seem to be just doing content in bulk. So this kind of forces a player to sort of be at their computer presumably, I'm assuming that this forces a player to be at their computer running their character in order to actually pull off an artifact that may drop from one of these mobs. Is that kind of like, do you think that's where it's coming from, Trinidaddy?
Yeah. Be a little more active.
Gotcha. Awesome. Okay. Moving on to the legend.
One more
ahead.
thing.
Yeah.
I've noticed I've gotten a few of the armor pieces, and they do not match any of the armor pieces that I've gotten from the world bosses, which leads me to believe that there may be some new content with new bosses coming out with the newer names of the artifacts that I've been getting. Maybe, hopefully.
Oh, sorry. What's this? I kind of was a little distracted. Can you run that by me one more time, Trinidaddy?
So I've gotten a few of the armor pieces, just random armor pieces off random corpses, and they don't have any of the same names or look like any of the other armor pieces that I've gotten from the world bosses. Kind of leads me to hope for maybe some sort of new content with new bosses.
Okay, well, we can be hopeful that maybe some of that is happening in the background for us. Let me check what Pockted had to share here. Pockted writes, these are fun, a reason to actually open corpses, and another way to get some of the highly sought after drops is great. So that's Pockted on the world loot drops there. Moving on.
I have a question.
Oh, shoot,
No.
Rex.
Rex has a question.
Question.
So with the loot, with these possible artifacts and whatnot dropping on bodies, including bosses, is this going to bring a return to breaking party just before we kill the boss? That is a thing on production that we will do a lot. We'll get in there together, we'll fight as a group, and then just before the boss dies, we'll break.
That's one thing I wish we would do more.
Because then the loot on the body that you look at is the loot that you see instead of, the whole party's loot. That's my understanding. That's how we've heard it passed. Are we going to see a return of that?
I mean,
the chances of one of the artifacts actually dropping on the boss's corpse, because if you kill the boss, naturally one should drop. If one does drop, should drop in your backpack. Would one also drop on his corpse? But again, the chances of that happening are pretty low.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on the boss.
So just business as usual then.
Until it happens, maybe.
Okay. That's all I want to know.
And then you can roll for it.
Yeah.
If you tell other people.
Hey, we only have honest people in our guild.
All right, moving on to great question, Rex. Thank you for that. Legendary Artifact Trader. A new trader has set up shop in the Britain Public Library, earn currency points for killing legendary foes. Spend this currency at the trader NPC for valuable rewards such as equipment, taming knowledge, and pet lures. Initial points are capped at 100 and will increase by 20 every week. Increase occurs every Tuesday after server maintenance. Players will be retroactively awarded up to 100 points based on how many legendary foes they have slain already. Very cool that was actually being tracked in the background prior to this publish. Points are limited, and you cannot earn more points overall than the current cap. Spend them wisely. Example. Okay, I'm not going to read into the example. That's a bit too much for this discussion. Players can view their total points earned and their current cap through a new special currency option on their player information gump. All right, we're gonna go around the table for this one. Lithy.
This is my favorite one. I love systems like this. Systems like this give players they give them access to artifacts that they wouldn't usually have. And then it gives players just something to do on the side. And then that kind of, for me, that reward system of being able to get something that you really kind of shouldn't have, feels really, really good. And then we got the special currency, which is it kind of alludes to we'll have more than one currency. So I'll be interested in seeing all the different currencies I have and what I can spend it on. That'll be nice. And that's it. That's it. I just really like systems like this.
Cheers. Thanks, Lithy. Ivy?
Hopefully you can hear me better now.
Yeah.
I do like this. However, I wish they would add different things that you could get only if you get these points. Because you only get these points for killing the legendary foes, which are the things that drop these things that you can then turn around and buy. So maybe in the future they can also add things that don't necessarily fall off of bosses, but if you continue to like make a choice, do you want to keep waiting for it to fall off of a boss, or do you want to spend the points on that item from the boss, or do you want this other thing that has nothing to do with that you can't get off a boss? You know what I'm saying? They're like I don't know, curtains for your house, or whatever item they would choose to add to that list. So I want to see it expanded, but I like where it's going.
That's a really interesting thought. So the idea that, in addition to the loot tables of these bosses, that there would be sort of like an exclusive set of items that you could only acquire through spending these points.
Right.
Rex?
I'm just going to pass on this one because this is the kind of stuff that my brain often doesn't really focus on.
Fair enough. Ron?
As far as the artifact trader goes, pretty cool idea. A thing that I'd like to see is if I get something that I don't like that's available on that, because the items that are available from the artifact trader are things that you can get from killing bosses. Like for example, I have the Taurus Mantle of Rage, and that's available there. But if that didn't apply to my character, or I didn't want it, why shouldn't I be able to trade it in and get credit for that?
I like that. I like both of those.
Over to Trinidaddy.
I like the trader guy because I've done the dragon so many times, and I feel like, man, I need the dragon book. I've been pretty lucky on everything else. I just haven't got the dragon book or the bars. I've got my white worm, but I see everybody else getting their amber wings, and I feel like I'm really glad that they have the dynamic scaling now, because my little white worm can get some hits in and still get some looting rights. But soon I'll have my stuff, because even if I kill the dragon, because I'm sure I've killed him more than 200 times, and I've still not got the book or the bars. So if I kill him another 200 times, then I can get them both.
Trinidaddy, I got my fingers crossed for you on both accounts, whether you get it off a drop or a special currency. Zeke?
Yeah, this was the best thing in the publish by far. Basically, all right, when they published first hit, one character, Sylvanas, was my tamer. He had 86 points, and Jack had 68. They never got any drops other than 2 Paxu sugar lures, or the sweet stuff. And that was it. And that was just 2 characters. That's 150 bosses that I killed. And literally nothing for a tamer other than the Ostard. I have since earned well over 400 or 500 points between the characters that I have on my 3 accounts. And Jack was able to get up to 200 points to get the golden bars. And I used 100 points on Sylvanas to get the dragon manual. And I used them both on Jack. But that's 500 points, and I still haven't gotten any of them as a drop. I haven't gotten the coup drop, Arctos, didn't get that. I did get the Nightmare one, but I was given the other ones that I've gotten. But yeah, this was like the best change ever. And at first it came out, there was a lot of griping from people that actually did get drops. But I killed as many, if not twice as many, as they did, and I just wasn't lucky enough to get a drop. And my characters are high output DPS. It's not like I'm barely making the curve. I could do some serious damage, especially on Jack that's got archery and taming. He really rocks on a lot of the bosses. Not so much on Crimson, but on all the other ones for sure. So it's not, it's just bad luck on my part of not getting these drops. And this system allowed me to get the things that I wanted. So I really, really, really like this.
Great feedback here, Zeke and Trinidaddy too. Does anyone remember what it felt like doing these world bosses before we had the artifact trader? The level of frustration that was sort of like rising up amongst the player community?
Oh, for sure. Oh my God. It was like, and it seemed the same people always got them.
Yes.
I mean, there was one guy, he had two characters that both had Ember Wings. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, the RNG can be wild. I know, Trinidaddy, that one of your guild members actually got 2 sets of gold bars over the last couple of days. I think it was Flying Cobra.
And a couple of taming knowledges, yeah.
Yeah, the RNG can be a thing. Happy for your guild member, but definitely it was a source of pain for a lot of the player community, and it's really great to see that Broadsword quickly recognized that and offered a solution in Publish 1 through the Legendary Artifact Trader. So this is what Pocted had to share over at Never Lucky. They had mixed feelings on this change. They felt that on the one hand, it's a great way to get drops you're missing or looking for. But on the other hand, they felt it incentivizes people to play less with a hard cap of 20 points being able to be earned per week. Feels bad killing bosses after that. So that's kind of like what he's saying about people like doing their 20 points and then saying, okay, I'm done with the new legacy for the time being until you circle back and those points sort of come back to you. Would like to see it changed to where there's still a hard weekly cap, but you can still earn points that will unlock as the week progresses. Let me grind as hard as I want. Make the kills worth 0.5 or 0.25 they have to. Oof. No thanks, Pocted.
Rocket's hired, by the way.
Yeah. I only have one character that hit the cap. That's Jack. Everybody else, all my other tunes, they're not anywhere near the cap, so that doesn't affect them. It's only the hardcore people that were playing before they put the system in that had started it at 100 points when it came out. But for the most part, it doesn't really affect most of the other players. The cap. Jack is the only one that could only get 20 a week now.
It's very difficult tuning a game for every, possible type of player profile out there. There are always going to be super users who are kind of an outlier as far as how much time they spend in a game as a service like Ultima Online or EverQuest or World of Warcraft. It's really hard to balance the game towards that very small minority of super users. Now, I am a filthy casual. I barely have time to get into this game more than once or twice a week. It's improving. As Ivy knows here and has been happy to see from her guild leader here on New Legacy. But I don't really have all that much time to spend in game, and I will say that it feels incredibly reassuring that one, in a matter of months, I should be able to have the special currency I need to get a chase item that I'm simply not getting off a world boss. And it really does a great job assuaging that moment when that random piece of weapon or armor junk falls into my backpack after, dealing with Crimson or one of the more coveted legendary foes, knowing that I got that point and I'm sort of progressing towards the items that I want. So I agree with you, Zeke. I think this is the single most important change in Publish 1. And I think it's a credit to the developers for having their ear to the ground and for making a substantive change that addressed, I think, I would argue, the most critical pain point for a lot of PVM players on New Legacy. All right. Moving on to, I guess we could skip farming because I don't believe anyone here is engaging with the farming system. Die seem trivial unless anyone wants to talk about the die changes here. And
Wait, can we go back?
Oh, sure.
Black rocks.
I just want to talk about the farming thing.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that is a bunch of wasted time, and it should just be completely dropped.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead, because Ron has such a strong opinion about it, I'm just going to go ahead and read this out. Resolve issue where inadvertent shard restarts could cause issues with plant water status. Change the hue of plants to display the watered versus non-water status to make it easier to tell when plants need to be watered. I have no idea what the system is. What is farming?
How many people are using that? A dozen?
This is CGO. Is it the same as the gardening system? Because if it is, that's kind of an important. Yeah, that is kind of an important part of UO. It's not a skill system, but you've got a little bit of a mini game. I think that nowadays we're all very busy people and we don't have time to focus on our virtual plants. But maybe at one point in time in the 90s, we did have time. I think it's a cool system. I'm not going to disagree with Ron or anything, but it is a system.
What does it do? What do you like from farming?
Zeke.
Reagents.
Yeah, the only thing you could grow on that is reagents.
Oh, dang. Okay.
On the production shards, you could grow different plants. I know a lot of people that are into deco that have tons of plants growing in their house, but you could get orange petals, which aren't really available in and out. There's I think one warrior quest where you end up with like 8 or 10 of them. They're used for becoming immune to poison for like 5 minutes.
That's useful.
Yeah, so that's grown a lot in the production shards, but that's not something you can grow here. There's coffee beans you can do in sugar on production and stuff like that. But here it's limited to reagents. I have not tried it. The posts I've read about it in the NL forum and on the UO.com forum, it still seems to have some buggy issues with it. And it's not it costs you more to try to grow your own reagents than it is to buy them or pick them up off the ground. So I kind of agree on that. This one is like I don't see the net ad on it, but
yeah, I mean, if farming is in fact limited to just growing reagents, then I'm kind of like I'm on Ron's side here. It just seems like a waste of dev labor when it can be applied to sort of, more impactful improvements to the shard. Now, I like the idea on paper, but in order for farming to actually be a valuable kind of endeavor for players, they would need to strip reagents from all mobs, and they need to strip reagents from all stores, all NPC stores.
Oh God, no! Go away.
But then farming would just become the bee's knees. Everyone would want to be friends with the farmer.
Yeah.
See, go to. Yeah, look,
I think we need to have a vote. You've been eliminated.
I've been eliminated? Oh no.
On the island.
I've been voted off the island. Lithy, you got anything to say here?
Well, what if later on down the road, and I guess, it is, like Ron Fellows said, it's kind of a pain in the butt to do, but what if later on down the road you could create special potions and poisons with, homemade reagents or whatever?
That would be good. That would be cool.
Run that by me one more time, Lithy. What was that?
You could perhaps maybe later on down the road, and now you got to understand that farming is not a skill. I believe that everybody can do it.
Okay.
That maybe you could make new potions or poisons or unique ones.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I know that I've been voted off the island, but in terms of getting us sort of closer to what classic Ultima was way back in the early days, a lot of that was tied to two things. One, sort of a dangerous open world environment where players could kill each other, much to the delight of Ron Fellows here, our resident Red, and also player interdependence. And so I know Zeke probably wants to stuff me into a closet and duct tape my mouth, but there is sort of a certain attraction to me at forcing players to sort of engage with each other to get things. And if, for example, farming was the only way you could get reagents on a subsequent season of NHL, that would suddenly make it a critical endeavor. That's, as Lithy pointed out, not tied to a skill. So hopefully that really opens it up for a lot of people to start engaging with.
But also, you could say the same could be said for crafting.
Yeah.
It kind of falls in the same category. Right now, it's just like, okay, whatever.
That's actually a really good segue. Before we actually can go to crafting and then we can jump to housing since you brought that up, and it sits alongside farming as a kind of a thing that we could be talking about here, Ron. So I'm going to move over here to the crafting section of the published one patch notes. It says conarium progression thresholds for the remaining conarium gates have been increased to improve pacing and encourage greater player involvement. And they resolved an issue where crafting bulk orders for town objectives were not contributing to house upkeep. So there's crafting for you. This is, of course, what happened in Publish 1, but this is also an opportunity to talk about crafting in general and what we're experiencing of it here in the New Legacy. So let's go with Lithy here.
I think and this isn't anything. This is just about the system in general. I mean, it's not a new system. I think the system is really cool. It is a new system as far as new to UO, but it's not new to New Legacy. I just think it's an innovative and cool system. I don't have much to say about the nodes.
Fair enough. Yeah. I don't think you're very active as a crafter, Lithy, so it's kind of in the background. Ivy.
Oh boy.
Rolling up my sleeves. Let him have it, Ivy.
Yeah, we don't get anything as crafters really for doing it. I mean, so what? We get our little points. Yes, we get the stuff that we can enhance people's weapons and spell books and what have you for. That is a cool aspect of it. But it's mind numbing, and there's no real counter. Like, we were stuffing it full, and we're like, does anybody have any ideas? There was a counter, and then they took it away. And then what they gave us was, oh, you're a quarter of a way there. But what does that mean? We don't know what a quarter is. Was it 25,000 that we did? And so now we need 75,000 more. Like a more definitive number of where we are in the progress when we're doing it. And I would like to see when we reach certain milestones as crafters, that we can have for ourselves as well as share with others, such as the occasional different colored dye. There are so many dyes. And yes, I know we can go online and pay on the UF store to get those dyes here in New Legacy, but maybe take that away and make it where crafters get it. Something, anything, because yes, it's cool that we get everybody to the next level, but that's who's doing it, is the crafters are getting everybody to the next level of armor and but what are they getting other than a headache?
Yeah, well said, Ivy.
There's no personal gain is what you're saying, and I agree.
Yeah, and overall for the shard, yes. If we're doing it for the 95% that aren't doing any crafting at all, I mean, we're carrying the whole entire shard to get us to the next level, to be able to take on the, CD or whatever else they bring forward in the future and stuff like that, which I think is great, but it's just not balanced at all as far as any kind of route. So they need to come up with something. and they need a counter that really tells us where we're headed.
You bring up a great point, Ivy. I, as a new player, am not incentivized in any way to contribute to the conarium with my crafter for that exact reason you pointed out. Like, why spend that time? My crafter there is basically now there to basically maintain my weapons and armor moving forward, without having to sort of, tug on your sleeve to get some help, which I've been having to do for most of my time here on New Legacy when it came to maintaining my PVM's weapons and armor. Rex, thoughts on crafting in the conarium?
So I don't craft. The closest thing I have to crafting is I have inscription, and I have it at about 74. So I can't do the actual bods that contribute to the conarium. I did have it at 100, but then when I went bard, things changed for me. So I only look at crafting really as, hey, we have a new power level. I'm going to make spell books until I get the next spell book, and I'll make some for the guys that need them in the guild, the guys and gals, and that's about it. So I have yet to actually do anything with the conarium.
Yep, makes sense, and I think that's an issue. The devs have to look at a way of incentivizing crafters from wanting to engage with the conarium to address some of the tedium that Ivy pointed out here. Ron, go ahead, Lithy.
I didn't mean to butt in. I do have something to say. What I like about the conarium is the sense of community. I like, every so often I hear Ivy will say, "Oh, we're to the next thing," and it's kind of like, a Christmas tree or something. You just kind of see that progress. And it does bring the community together, but it's limited to only crafters. That would be interesting if maybe there was like a drop on a boss, and I could be wrong. This could, mess up the scale, but maybe we could, there would somehow be a way like warriors could contribute to the conarium, or it could contribute to the progression of gear. That would be interesting. Okay, to Ron.
Thank you, Lithy. Well, just to tack on to what you just shared here, like I think that's an interesting idea of anyone being able to contribute to the conarium. But I think Ivy brings up a great point. It's well and good to sort of do your part to help advance the progression of the shard in terms of the loot table. But it would also be really great if the conarium could give back to players as well in some way. Ron, you kind of kicked this off earlier with your
sorry.
Yeah, no, it's great. What your thoughts on conarium and crafting are so far?
I hate the conarium. I think it should just be kicked out. You have so many months for this shard because it's seasonal, right? So how about you say this month it gets kicked up to this, and this month it gets kicked up to this, and so on, I think it's a silly thing with the current setup to tell people, oh yeah, you craft and then everybody benefits. No. I think they should just do a schedule as far as upping the loot, and if you want to keep crafters excited to enhance things, they can still get their points and all that. But I think it's silly to say we need to do so many bulk order deeds, and then the whole server can move up. And honestly, I think that's what they're doing anyway. I think because it's the first season of it, they're probably just advancing it when they think it should be advanced.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that perspective. Where does that put crafters? Because the crafters' big purpose right now on the shard is advancing the conarium. I mean, obviously crafters have more of a role in that, maintaining items, enchanting and stuff, but conarium is a big part of that. Where does that leave crafters in terms of this sort of the story of the shard and evolving it over time?
I don't expect them to do this time or even next time, but it's just strange that the way they've done it. maybe a better thing for crafters, like an incentive for crafters, is like, hey, I can create armor that's a little bit better than what's currently available. Like right now, it's fortification, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if the crafters could do something a little bit better, but that it's not fortification, but it's a little bit better, and they have to use like a lot of resources to make it? Then they could be selling their armor. That would be better than, or not just, well, actually now their armor is just total garbage. They
Yeah,
can't even
I
make
was
armor.
about to say that I wouldn't mind if it was just a little bit less than fortification. Most to the basic crap.
Yeah, and obviously it would scale based on, you know, what they're making. Like the better it is, the more resources they're going to need. But that's a whole other conversation that I had during the beta about like resource gathering, like for like a tailor, like really I got to go out and skin sheep, like it's very grindy. Take a little bit of the. I mean, grind is okay, but boring grind is the worst.
I hear you. I'm into that. That's a great way to pass over the mic to Trinidaddy for your thoughts on the conarium and crap.
I made a crafter just so I can repair my stuff. That's about it.
Fair enough. Any thoughts about how crafting works currently, or where it could go here on New Legacy, where you'd like to see it?
I kind of like the idea of, crafters being able to make special semi-artifact stuff like Marty's with special material, kind of like imbuing, how you can imbue stuff to certain items on the production shards with special ingredients. Something like that might be kind of cool.
Like add mana regen.
Oh God, yes. Any regens, any other mods.
Well said, Trinidaddy. Zeke, crafting in the conarium.
Yeah, I kind of agree with most people on the one of the issues I have with the I call it the Congo because I can never remember the name, but it is, you're donating all these bods, but you don't get blank ones back like you do when you turn in a bod. So you use bods to get the points, so you turn them in to the NPCs so that you can get the Congo points that you need, and then you could get bods back from that. But then you start turning in all these bods to the conarium, and it just makes it that you have to ensure you're getting, all the bods you can get every day. Because I mean, you could get 8 in the morning and then 6 or 8 at night. So it's like 14 to 16 bods a day you can get, which seems like bot. But and as far as crafting goes, like I agree. I made mine to repair stuff and to enhance, to add the Slayer stuff to the weapons. But it's, moving that thing. I'm not a person that likes mods to begin with, so.
I did save my aprons and noticed a lot of other people were just tossing their aprons on the ground as they got the newer ones, not realizing that they actually had mods on them. So I threw the aprons on my other characters too.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's what I did. That's what I gave mine.
Yep, smart.
And I like the craft. The only downside is leather.
If the resource
I
pack
have
is
doors
at least
and
double.
I can kill stuff, but the fact that I can't have my main fighter or something go out and gather a bunch of leather because it goes to a positive. Now, maybe a little bit. When we hit level 3, I think there's going to be resource there.
You have a resource safe that goes up into the guild hall. It is the same as in any one person can carry, though.
So you don't add it from. Well, how do you add stuff to it?
It'll be a deed that you place in your guild house, and then any character in the guild, it's default set to guild. So any gilded character can go up to it, open it up. It'll look just like yours, but it'll have arrows to deposit or withdraw. And you can click deposit. It'll tell you how many you have and how many you want to deposit.
Oh, okay.
But
And it just start.
it is the same as
how
one
it
character.
populate it then, right?
Yes. Yeah, you can
Okay,
go collect leather and whatnot. But it can only still hold the same amount as any one person can. It's kind of dumb.
Oh, so like 1,500 leather, for
Yeah.
example.
So one person can fill it up and
Right, gotcha.
be fine. And one person could come and
It all.
Yeah. It does leave a transaction list.
Oh, yeah, similar to how the board that you could put up to transfer money from one account to the other. Safe.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right. Anything more from you, Zeke?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I want to
I
go.
want to make some exceptional armor. That's
I hear you.
I want Gucci's name on her stuff.
Same. Would be great to have a little bit of that on the new legacy. Here are Pocket's notes regarding crafting. Conarium feels way too hard now. Everyone got burnt out on this last level. They're not sure how many people will work to advance the final level, knowing it's going to be a much higher requirement than the last one. And the fact that our characters are nearly maxed out and the only attributes that make a significant difference in combat makes it less incentivized to do so. They would like to see more options added to the conarium. Let crafters be able to unlock more exciting enchantments, swing speed, faster casting, lower mana cost. Any reactions to Pocked's feedback there? I kind of agree with that. I would love to see, these unlocks that Pocket suggested, like swing speed, faster casting, lower mana cost. That would instantly make crafters more valuable to the shard, more exciting to play. So my thoughts on crafting, I'm kind of like Rex here in Trinidaddy, where my experience in crafting is fairly limited. I do kind of want to go back to something that you brought up, Ron, regarding crafters, and this is something, of course, that you kind of agree with too, Zeke, about crafters being able to contribute to best in slot stuff through hard work, valuable resources obtained in the world. Albion, are you familiar with Albion Online, Ron? Have you heard of Albion Online?
Yeah, I played it for like a month when it came out, but I gave up in short order.
Gotcha. Well, the one thing that I read about Albion, which I thought was interesting, was how when it came to crafting, the most valuable crafting resources in Albion, from what I read, are always located in open PvP areas of the world. And I'm wondering if something like that could actually be fun for New Legacy, could motivate some player versus player competition, because you'd have crafters who are basically defenseless in New Legacy, needing to go into these dangerous areas, be protected by guildmates while they went after these resources. And it also gave something for players to maybe pursue and intercept, player killers to sort of try to see if they can get those crafters and steal their loot and beat the guards that they have around them. Do you see that working could that be exciting for crafters, or could that be exciting as the system? Could that motivate PvP? I'm wondering if something similar could be applied to another season of New Legacy.
Yeah, definitely another season. But right now they put PvP completely on the back burner. There's no appeal to PvP here right now. But that would be a great idea. Like, you have to protect the crafter, like kind of like a gauntlet kind of thing. I don't know. Something like that could be cool. But the way they have it now, it's just not. I can't see that meshing.
Yeah.
Maybe for another season.
What do they miss in terms of PvP in this current season, in your opinion? Why isn't it happening?
Risk versus reward. I mean, you can get all the rewards from never PvPing. So what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point you bring up, which is why champion spawns are largely uncontested and people would just cooperate to get through them. Because there's no real upside to fighting each other. It just slows everything down.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, you might attack somebody and, oh, yeah, I killed you, whatever. It doesn't matter because there's nothing to win.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, we're going to quickly go. We completed this review of the published one, patch notes. What I'd like to do at the end of this great discussion.
Sorry, we skipped over dyes, and they're very important.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you for catching me. And player housing, too, for that matter. So let's stop. Do you want to go back to dyes?
I was just giving you a...
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, we do have housing. So let's just briefly go over that because that's a big system. The cost of placing a new house has been increased if another house was placed within the same town in the last month. The additional delay for placing a house in the same town has been removed. All characters...
I don't think that's true.
Oh, really? We get into that. All characters on an account can... Well, actually, no. Let's speak about it now. So, what's this issue, Zeke, about the delay?
Don't you remember trying to place this guild house and how many times you had to wait? Say up, you have to wait.
Oh, yeah. 2-minute delays. Yeah.
Yes.
That's true. That maybe that only applies to player housing. Maybe they haven't removed it for placing guild housing. I wouldn't be surprised if that was an oversight.
No,
developers.
A friend tonight was trying to place a house. He couldn't place it in one spot. Went to do another spot. Said that you've done it too soon. You have to wait. But now that I'm rereading this, I don't think that's what it's talking about.
What do you think it's talking about here?
If you if you wanted to get rid of the house you were in and place another one, it's a 7-day timer in production, but it was like 3 months or something weird in and out. So that's what they'd be talking about that.
Okay. All characters on an account can now link to their house through the town loyalty option on the house sign. However, guild houses cannot be linked. And guild houses cannot be placed anywhere within designated guild housing areas. While that wasn't true for us ourselves, we were not able to place our guild tower exactly where we wanted it within the designated guild housing area for Trinsic. So I don't know if that's a bug.
Yeah, we did have a hard time with that.
Yeah, I was watching that stream.
Yeah, definitely didn't have the freedom to place wherever we wanted within our designated area. Intrinsic, we wanted to get as close as we could to some of those combat town board objectives intrinsic to make it sort of useful to intrinsic players, but we had to settle for where we ended up. Anyone has thoughts here regarding the housing changes?
Yeah, allowing your other character on the same account to link to the house was a good change. Because this way, my crafter, when we have to refresh the house, the other character can go through and do the dungeon crawls and stuff like that, as opposed to having to do a bunch of bots.
Agreed.
So that was a good change.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't have any thoughts about the housing changes, but I have thoughts about housing in general.
Shoot.
I don't know if you want to save that for the end or...
No, I think we are at the end, and everyone here will have an opportunity to talk about one thing that they would like to see changed or for the next publish, or something they're looking for in the next publish, including just general thoughts on the new legacy as you do regarding housing. So have at it, Ron. Kick us off as we wind down this conversation.
Okay, you want me to just start from the top then? Just general.
Well, let's start. Well, whatever a couple of your thoughts here. Why not?
Okay. Things that I'd like to see. So we need to be able to set our own stats. Like control, intelligence, strength, and dexterity. Big thing. I think we should have. We already mentioned that we need, or I already mentioned that I'd like mana regen on the pure mage because there's no mana pool and I'm just a healer at this point. For the housing, the zones are were a good idea if there were a million players, but there's not. So why are we stuck to these little tiny areas when we have this huge map? There's even, housing available in the current restricted areas. So, I mean, why not just open up everything and let us place a little bigger house? We don't need that little 7x7. And then the last thing, I wrote it down. I'm reading this off the list. The web client. Not a fan. I wish that they would put some updates into the actual 2D client that would bring it up to date with the web client. They shouldn't be just crutching on ClassicUO.
Agreed. And I think my issue with ClassicUO is that, I'm glad that Broadsword approved it. Let me just get that right out front. I'm very grateful that they provided this to players who want a classic aesthetic with modern quality of life features. So big cheers to Broadsword for that. But as you pointed out, Ron, ClassicUO could go away tomorrow. It's not owned by UO. It's essentially developed by volunteer developers for basically next to nothing. And they could just tire of the effort, get distracted, move on to other things. And suddenly the usability of that option would fall apart over time. So it feels like a temporary Band-Aid for something that Broadsword needs to provide a permanent solution for.
Absolutely. And it's been proven, I mean, just from the ClassicUO, that independent people can make this thing that aren't being paid. So why can't Broadsword do it? Hire somebody.
Yeah, and I do think in the grand scheme of things, getting a handle on a single client is essential to the future of Ultima Online and to bring in new people. It is really, really confusing having to have to pick between 3 different clients. That was a big issue a lot of my channel community ran into when they came to check out the new legacy with me. So yeah, definitely a big issue there. Anything else on your thank you, by the way, for drawing up a list of these thoughts of yours. Anything else in that list before we move on from you, Ron?
No, I just wanted to save most of that stuff for the end, just because it wasn't really about the update. It was just kind of gripes that I had.
No, well done.
Again, character stats. Let us set the stats. Mana for pure mages. All I am is a healer, and then house upkeep, zones, and the web client.
Well said, Ron. Thank you for sharing all that. All right, we'll jump up to the top and work our way down. Lithy.
So I thought it was a cool publish. I liked it because it wasn't just little patches, bug fixes. And Ultima's really good when there's a patch where they add things like the vendor, like the wardens standing outside of the so we had a bunch of things added. I did like that. I wanted to piggyback on something that Ivy said about getting items that maybe you couldn't get from your foe point vendor there, and that maybe we could even put the rewards on a timer, like a weekly timer, so you had like a rotation of rewards that would just interest players a little bit more. And anytime we can, engage the community. I had some other things about crafting to say, but I didn't want to be too long-winded because it was just be things that I would like to see. It would be cool to see that your more powerful, mods, like mana regen, like Ron said and stuff like that. It'd be cool to see those. Maybe you could craft those, maybe, but maybe make those like a legendary craft thing. So like little rare. So that's all I have to say.
Cheers. Thanks, Lithy. Ivy.
Yeah, I like what Ron said, and like with Lithy and everything. The really for me, what's missing is I don't feel like there's lore here per se. I mean, there's not to production shards and things of that nature. There are a few things that are NL only, like the Manicore and stuff like that. But I would like to see more lore. Like we're talking about maybe change them to wizards at the doorway with a different story, things of that nature to kind of. It feels empty, I guess, is what I'm saying. So I'd like to see a little bit more indulgence in some sort of history, something that makes NL historic going forward. And I would also like to see PvP be a thing, even if it is only something like giving us an arena that maybe gives us points, kind of a throwback to the old days of when we had calm and stuff like that, where you'd have things that you could get only because you were a PvPer. So, like how we have right now the special currency. Well, what about a different special currency if you're a PvPer? And that way, you can run around with some stash or a title or something that dictates that's, that's your thing. You like the PvP and get recognition somehow, become part of that history and lore of NL going forward. Because we've got a lot of historic people going back to the first days that are still remembered for PvP. So I'd like to see that also added in to help fill the lore of NL specifically.
Anything like similar to the VVV rewards.
Yeah.
Well said, Ivy. Thank you. Just out of curiosity, again, I'm a new player, so I don't really have a good sense of this, but how much like unique mobs does NL offer players here aside from the Manticore? Because I remember the developers wanting to, in some of their early streams, wanting to actually create unique mobs that hadn't previously existed in production for players here on New Legacy. I guess that also applies to world bosses too. I understand Valara is a copy of an existing boss from production. How much like new enemy monster content do we have here on New Legacy?
The Orc Hound.
Oh, hey, yeah. There's a few another one of the orc mobs, but
all right. Well, I'll take that as there's a little bit of it, but not much.
Anything else.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, the orc, the only one you could tame is the one that requires the lure. That's in shame for the intrinsic passage.
Gotcha.
But the ones you can't tame anything from a spawn, and I haven't seen any of the orc hounds anywhere else. I was hoping to find them in the Orc Cave, but they weren't. They had the dire wolves.
That's good to know that the Orc Hound's very unique to New Legacy. That Orc Hound definitely made my early days on the Shard very tough. Pocket had to come and rescue me a couple times. Thank you, Ivy. Rex, what's one thing you want to see in the next publish, or something you're hoping for from your New Legacy adventure?
Okay, so this is going to be one of those old man moments. And I'm allowed to have old man moments because I'm getting there.
You and me both.
Yeah, well, I know your age. I got you beat.
Kids.
When I first started playing New Legacy, I noticed, check that. When I first started my second character on New Legacy, Rexenstein, who was a fighter, and I got to following the character storyline, and I got to the guild hall for fighters, there's a paladin's library. And when I was fighting the storyline and we were killing those dark cultists, I found on them necromancer reagents. So I know that in lore terms, and this is the problem with coming from a production shard to New Legacy, you got a paladin's library, you got no paladins. You see where I'm going with this? Give me
Oh, yeah.
paladins. Yeah, got reagents for necromancers. Those evil wizards are necromancers. They even use necromancer spells. And if you come from a production shard, especially if you've played the paladins and necromancers, or even possibly, is it Takuna? Is that the name of the Takuno? Where we have
There's a Takuno.
the ninjas and the samurais and whatnot.
Yep, that's Takuno. Yep.
Obviously, I'd prefer paladins first. I say obviously. It's obvious now. I just told you. So I would love to see. I'd love to see something that Paladin's Library. There should be a Paladin quest. There was a dang Bard quest, and you could be a farmer if you want. And we all know how we feel about that. We've had that conversation tonight. So I would like to see that. Maybe next year's New Legacy if I have to wait that long. But it would be nice to see that content arrive, especially because if you do come from a production shard and you're playing this edition, it's exciting in some ways. But it's like if you started playing Dungeons & Dragons in 1974 and then you picked up the 1983 basic box and it's teaching you how to play and you're thinking, I already know how to play. Where's my ranger?
Rex,
And it's not there.
yeah, I hear you. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Anything else you want to throw in there before we move on to Trinidaddy?
No, that was me. I said my piece.
Cheers. Yeah, I think you make a great point. Actually, again, I'm a new player, so I don't have the understanding of what is here and what's absent from the production shards for the most part. But I will say that I do know that Trinzic, according to Ultima lore, is not in fact the stronghold for warriors in this world, but it's in fact the stronghold of paladins. So it goes back to your what you're saying here about how great it would be to have chivalry as a skill available here on the next season of New Legacy. And I kind of feel like chivalry and necromancy are like classic skills that are well within sort of like this medieval aesthetic that the developers are hoping to capture with the New Legacy experience. All right, over to Trinidaddy.
I think the overall experience is pretty cool. It is a bit of a break from the normal stuff. It's very humbling. I will give it that. It's very humbling to come over here and not be a god. Yeah. Pretty easy for new people, returning players. A lot of our guild is people who came from free shards or came back after 15 plus years. Like, I heard about this and played it as a kid, and they've picked it up pretty well. I do hope there is new content next time around. I hope I don't have to do the same stuff again. That would be boring and be a weird legacy to do it again. I guess I could do something different, but it would still be the same. I do believe, like I was saying earlier, with the different named artifacts that I found, there might be other stuff. The land is pretty empty. Dungeon's pretty empty. Lots of potential.
Well said, Trinidaddy. And actually, I was really pleased to discover that a lot of the cool members that make up the guild members that make up your New Legacy chapter are returning players. And I think that just goes to show that Broadsword has an opportunity here, a valuable one. And it's really, hopefully they're listening to player feedback and charting a course that ensures the health of the current season, and paves the way for even more exciting seasons of New Legacy for player communities like yours over at Cool and ours at the Wyvern's Lair. Over to Zeke.
Yeah, I want to echo what Rex said. I want my Paladin, I want Shiv, and Necro on the same character. It's awesome. Vampires. They would like rock this world. But anyhow, yeah, I really liked what they did. This was definitely different. It brought back some old stuff from when I first started playing in 2004. Before there were vampires, before there was the samurais. one thing I'd like to see added, a couple of things to the store, believe it or not. There's a pen that you can use to copy runebooks. And I think that would be an awesome addition to, I mean, they have been on production already, so it's not like they have to pen of wisdom, that's all. And it's not like they have to add anything. It'd just be a good addition to the store, because making runebooks, I get, like yesterday, for example, one of my guildmates created the character here for the first time. And I had to go through and jump from spot to spot and to create, a copy of the runebook, where on production all I needed was this pen, some mark scrolls, some some blank runes, and a rune book. And I'm able to copy one book, make a exact copy it to another book. So that would be a great add, and it would be a really good money maker. And it's not a game changer either. It's not giving me any, extra benefit over anybody else. But so I'm looking forward to see what Pub 2 though is. I really haven't seen anything in any detail about what this event's going to be, but I am looking forward to it.
Thank you, Zeke. And I agree that addition to the player store would be a great one, and people would look forward to the opportunity of easily copying a ruin book. That'd be an amazing item to add, and I'm sure a lot of people would buy it for the convenience of it. As for myself, I feel like Publish 1 came out of nowhere. I think that they made substantive changes to the player experience through adding world bosses to quest objectives for guild progression, for adding the special currency for taking down world bosses. It was badly needed. It gives me as a casual player this constant sense of progression, of moving towards items that I can now get off the legendary artifact trader. These were some really smart changes that Broadsword didn't really telegraph too far ahead. They just kind of dropped it on us here on the Legacy Shard, and they were very welcome. So I hope that we see Broadsword, listening to player feedback, where it exists on the official forums and what they're seeing in terms of activity in the Shard, and are making steps to make Publish 2 equally as impactful. A couple of things that I want to see for New Legacy moving forward is, really it's two things. New Legacy deserves the kind of events that galvanize player activity on the production shards. Now, the developers have long stated that they don't want these events between New Legacy and production to overlap with each other. I get it. You don't want players having to choose between playing on New Legacy or playing on the production shard to experience an event. And of course, maybe there's also just the bandwidth of running these events as well. So that's something that I'm hoping to see. I really feel like the window of when we should have seen a unique event for New Legacy should have been this January. I understand that Broadsword is a very small team, and they have to pick and choose their battles. And there were some important things that were happening under the hood that maybe prevented them from getting to a unique event for New Legacy. But I feel like that's one reason why we're seeing a drop in player activity and player enthusiasm on New Legacy right now. So I think that should definitely be, top of priority for Broadsword to begin these unique events that I'm sure will bring back people who'd stepped into New Legacy a few months ago. I had to try it out. The other thing that I would like to see on New Legacy is that Broadsword made it clear that there would not be event moderators on this shard, unlike the production shards. We don't have EMs here. The idea was that developers themselves would be the EMs. That was their commitment to the shard when they spoke about it a few years ago. And I also feel like that would be a really important piece to making the shard a unique experience. We're grateful for our EMs. They do important things on production. But I think that the developers should keep that commitment, should show up in their EM robes and begin adding sort of bespoke experiences and events outside of course, the official gameplay events that happen seasonally on the production shards. And aside from those two things, I think that I feel I have no regret regarding stepping into New Legacy on day one up until today. I'm excited for the rest of the season. I'm approaching this as a filthy casual, so there's a lot for me to look forward to as a player. So cheers to Broadsword for making this finally happen for the Ultima Online community. You brought someone like myself who've been watching this game for many years to finally check it out. I've been having a great time, and I just want to thank everyone here who joined myself for this discussion. This is something that I hope to make sort of a regular ritual here on my YouTube channel. I do want to cover retail Ultima Online, what Broadsword is doing to maintain what I think is now a piece of gaming history, and a living piece of gaming history at that. So this is going to be the first of many community discussions here at the Wyvern's Lair as the New Legacy season evolves this season and future seasons. And I want to thank everyone who was here for the very first episode of this. Lithy, Poison Ivy, RexRumble, Ron Fellows, Trinidaddy and Zeke. Special shout out to Trinidaddy joining us from the cool player community. It was my hope to have people from outside the Wyverns there to, add their voice and perspective to the discussion. So I'm glad you were able to come and join us for that, Trinidaddy. Hopefully more folks from the player community next time. And of course, nothing but my warmest thanks to the amazing guild members here at the Wyvern's Lair who makes this one of the best guilds to be a part of here on New Legacy. And this is not an ad. This is not an advertisement at all. I mean it sincerely. You guys are great. And I feel privileged to be a part of this player community too.